this is what we've been saying all along. It was set up. These people knew where to go, they knew who to get, and now we know the reason why. Sloan said he was enraged. He said he was enraged from the bullets in which the executives got mad that they saw Suge Knight there. Sloan is supposedly in charge of security. So they were mad at Sloan for allowing Suge Knight to be there. So Sloan left, drove over there, he's gone for 15 minutes for the police, comes back to the Bullis location, when he drives and he finds Suge Knight over at the Thames. But he also brought Chris, who was his personal friend, who he hired, who was a gang member who was antagonistic towards Suge. All three of them were there. All three of them attacked from different positions. That's it. I don't understand how you get past that. He was admitting, he was enraged, he attacked, and ultimately responsible for the guy getting killed.
So did he have Carter call Knight to go to that location, or just stumble on it?
You know, what's interesting, we don't know. We just got the phone record information a few days ago, and as you know, they won't let us have an investigator or anything like that, so eventually I'll try to figure out how to do that. But they're out is these radios, the handheld radios. Carter was a member of the crew. He was working on the film. All of the people involved, except for Suge Knight, were working on the film. We know from the phone records that Knob was called by Terry Carter. Knob, we know now, was also at the Bullis Road scene. Knob, we know, was hired by Universal, whether it's Dr. Dre or Ice Cube, whomever it is. They hired them for neighborhood security. Knob and this guy, Chris, whatever, Jimmy Chris, they all left roughly the same time after lunch, and they all ended up at Thames, and then they all attacked.
And what's the significance of Sloan's radio?
Sloan tells the police that no one took anything from my hand, so I didn't have anything for anyone to take. We have the video or the pictures showing that the radio and his cell phones were always inside his car. They've now changed the story from saying the cell phone was ran over and I never had a radio, because on the video you can see the black object, oblong object being taken from his hand or his side. That's the gun. He's now saying, well, it's not really a gun, it's the radio. And the reason he's saying that is because he doesn't have any other explanation for what was taken. And his offer is, this is their case, someone planted that in my car. That's the case now. They're saying I didn't have a gun and someone planted my radio in my car next to my cell phone, even though we have the surveillance video that shows no one planted anything in the car. That's their case now. They're saying that item was placed in the car, some way to set him up. I don't know what it is. But you know that's just not true. Everyone's seen the video. You know that's not true. And the prosecutor keeps on putting on these witnesses for information, present information. We know empirically it's not correct. We know empirically that radio was not placed in the car because we have it under surveillance. The car's there all night.
And Matt, the genesis again is that Sloan is in charge of security. He hires, admittedly, gang members to be part of a team that reaches out to the community. Then he's embarrassed because an underling tells the producers, and Universal's mad that Knight's around.
And as he says, this is how I support myself. I go from job to job to have this great reputation. That's why he's furious. This is a guy, his nemesis, he's hated for 15 or 20 years, who's come on, who's completely embarrassed him at work to the point the executives are mad, and they're saying, Dre and Ice Cube aren't going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen until he's dealt with. So you got to remember, this goes back to September and August, when at their direction they were trying to deal with Suge Knight. So whoever was head of security or whoever hired him, sent this guy to deal with it, he goes over to the situation to deal with it, and the guy ends up dead. And it's pretty devastating evidence. It really is, from the beginning to end. We now know, as I've been saying, this goes all the way back to the production company. This goes all the way back to the first start of this. They have a problem. You can't hire a bunch of gang members and say, go handle this problem, and then throw your hands up and go, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. There's gambling going on in this room. I mean, come on. You sent over gang members. The gang members did what they did, and the person ends up dead. And the undisputed testimony is the only person who was attacked by an enraged gang member who had been embarrassed in front of his bosses and his livelihood.
Is that why he was so angry? What made him so angry at this point?
Because part of his job is this, whether it's a liaison to the community, it's really a liaison to gang members. He's a gang member and he goes and talks to gang members and he says, hey, we'll give X number of you some money so you can keep everything quiet. That's what they're doing. It's kind of like bribery. You know, we go over there, we're going to pay these people. Bones' job is to do those things, and he can say all the other job titles he has. His job is to keep people square, and particularly his job was to deal with Suge Knight. That's why today when he says, and Leonard, he was mad at Leonard because Leonard told the higher-ups that Suge Knight was there, and they were mad, not good, and nothing was happening. They shut down an entire production.
I understand that this completely contradicts what the statement he made to police, right? I mean,
it depends on which statements you're talking about. Because eventually he didn't think he was being recorded. That's why you saw the reaction from him today when I was asking him questions and he was catching obvious lies. And I say, you do know you were recorded? He goes, didn't know I was recorded. And then it hits him and then they have to get immunity because he's not going along with it. He didn't know he was being recorded by the police. Just like when he was talking to the police, he was making all these statements, he didn't know there was a surveillance tape. So he has these great grandiose stories, and then when the reality hits it, he's done. And that's why they had to come up with something about that radio, because we know someone takes a black object from his hand and sticks it in their waistband. And he says, no one took anything from me. And now they're contending it was his walkie-talkie, which we know it can't be because the walkie-talkie was in the car with his radio. And he says they planted it. A long-time gang member who attacks an entertainment icon. Whether you like the music, don't like the music, like the man or not, you have to accept this phenomenon. He's attacked by a long-term gang member who is either high or going to get high, and who's enraged, and three other fellow gang members working for him attack him. He should be charged with murder because it's a provocative act murder. It's a felony murder for attacking someone, committing a felony, and someone dies. And then you're walking and you not only don't charge him, you hand him immunity so that he'll never suffer the consequences for what he did. Never. We know Suge didn't start this because that's what the evidence is. You know Terry Carter, whatever his contacts were with Bone or with Knob, they're all at the same place at the same time. But Terry Carter's dead. And now Bone will never, ever suffer any consequences for it, even though you all heard what he did. And his only defense now is, I didn't really have a gun, someone planted this in my car. That's where we're at today. Shocking.
So that immunity then, it goes beyond than just the testimonies.
Good.
It's for
good. It's almost impossible to prosecute somebody after they've been granted immunity. I don't know the full extent what they negotiated, because I found out when you guys found out. I knew they had to immunize him at some point in time, but I don't know the full extent. But it's almost unheard of that someone's given immunity and then later on prosecuted. Gives him a nice cover, by the way.
How do you explain a guy that can talk about the exact route that he drove to Tams, and he can't remember who hit him, and he can't remember the person behind him? Is that selective memory, or, I mean, because a very skeptical person might look at it and say, hey, you know, maybe he's intimidated.
He knows the exact route he drove, but it wasn't to drive to Tams. It wasn't to drive to Farm Lake. He was driving to Tams to meet Jimmy Chris there and to meet Knob there, who he did in fact meet there. These guys, Knob, who works there, was called by Terry Carter to meet me over here. Called them over there. This group was brought together. What he's doing on the stand is typical in gang cases. They go, oh, I don't remember. He bled to the police and told them everything, including, I grabbed the gear shift. I grabbed the gear shift. You can't blame Suge Knight for someone attacking him and then grabs the gear shift and someone gets ran over. You can't expect him to sit there while he's being attacked. So his game now is he's going to play both sides, both ends against the middle. he can maintain his street cred by saying, you know, I'm hardcore, I do this, I do this. As he said, I'm the preeminent negotiator, I don't know, in LA or the world, I don't know. But he then can also say, but I didn't snitch on it. You know, gang members are not going to lose their reputation for anyone. And he can at least go back with a smile on his face and his reputation intact. That's all he's doing, Chris. You know that. I mean, this is common stuff for gang members. They're not going to violate that code except in very limited circumstances. And even with immunity when they do it. So it tells you where he's at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
But under no circumstances, Judge, and the people concede this. They say he's bailable. They've conceded that he's bailable. But $25 million is absurd, and it's not reasonable. It's clearly excessive.
$25 million, if you can come up with that kind of bail, at least that may be